Hello and welcome to the Gameweek 32 episode of Net That Haul. I'm FPL Nima and I'm joined by my co-host FPL Lens. How are you, Gabriel?
Good morning, man. It's been a whirlwind of a morning, as you know. But I gotta say, happy to be here. Missing Mariner a little bit, but happy to get into Game Week 32 with you today, Nima, because I'm just really looking forward to moving on from Game Week 31.
Yeah, I think so. There's still obviously the one fixture left tomorrow night with Burnley and Everton, but I think beyond the relegation battle and some final points, there isn't much there to discuss. So
Yeah.
before we go into the FPL, just to say hi to everyone who's been patiently waiting in the live chat, give a couple of shout outs, and we have a message from Mariner himself to play for everyone. So firstly, like to say hi to Blue Danube guy for being the first one here. Evening, mate. FPL Safa, good to see you. Been a while. Good to see you, Akib, as well. Hello, mate. Hudafi as well. Good to see you, mate. Nice to see everyone. So, in terms of this episode, we're also going to talk about Game Week 32. It's the first non-blank or double game week in months. So it's the first normal game week, as you might call it, in what feels like forever. So I'm very much looking forward to it, that's for sure. And a final shout out to Dan as well from the FPL way. Good to see you, mate. So if you enjoy the video today, please do hit like, hit subscribe, and do become a member. So we have 6 or 7 members now, I think, on YouTube to shout out. So we've got FPL Robbie. Thanks as always for being the first member a month ago and for all your continued support. We have Dread FPL, Matthew Locke, Tom Jones, Craig P, Ozzy Sharks, Razik, and Podner. So thank you to all our YouTube members. You're all up there as haulers. For anyone who doesn't know, it's a way of supporting the channel. It goes a long way for us and helps us improve the stream going into next season. You get a little badge next to your name on YouTube in the live chat, and you get access to some custom emojis. But most importantly, you get the FDRs and the Captaincy Metric a couple of days earlier than the matchup show, where we're going to unveil them later today. But as always, that will remain free for everyone else too. But the membership is just a way to show your support. So going into the mini league actually, and then I'll play Mariner's video because I think it would be good to do a quick mini league update. He's having an incredible game week. So let's start by talking about how well Mariner is actually doing in FPL, and then we'll hear from him how he feels. So number
Nima,
one,
I think your volume might be a little
is
bit
it a
low
bit
for
low? Maybe if
yeah.
I try and bring the mic a bit closer, if that helps.
As long as you don't breathe heavily into it and
Yeah,
make it
that's
weird.
that's the problem now. Yeah, so hopefully it's the settings won't mess up too much from here. I'll try to stop breathing altogether and just talk. I'll just talk until I
Just not
faint.
so passionately, Nima. Don't breathe so passionately.
It's true. You can hear it on the other side of the wall, I think. So on that note, so FPL Milanista, he's still leading the mini league. He is number one with 2,238 points. He's had a great game week so far with 55. In second place, we have Template FC, Tiger Rattigan, 49 points, just sitting there on 2,223, so 15 points behind Dubai. Chris has actually gone up in the mini league to third now from last week where he was fourth. So the brothers Grimsby, Chris Turner, our very own Mariner. He's got 57 points this week, which is the highest of the top 10 in the net, that whole mini league. And he's sitting on 2,221. So he is slowly having an incredible season. He's back in the top 100 again. I think he's sitting at 75 OR. He is gunning for that top 50 finish. And he's only 51 points, I believe, from top 1 in the world. So, there's a real possibility. Just the one chip left, the one free hit, I believe. But he's really in there for a rogue shout. So Brad Curry as well, friend of the show, knocked off third place by Mariner, Pfizer Chiefs. Don't worry, he's promised to give up the third place reward if he gets in the money finish. So prize league entrance, don't worry, top 3 will not go to Mariner. Even if he does well, that would feel unfair. So he's given that up. Quickly running through the final 5 then on the mini league for the podcast listeners. So we have it just below these top 4. We have the people in the 2,100 range. So we have Luciano Luca Rosso, Los Polos Hermanos. We have Tierney's Tesco Bag, Tom Robinson. The Kong FPL Planner, Tieng No. We have Ticking Time, Rom Jack B. Safeguards, Khaled Vidake. And R&D 11, Shubro Dasgupta. So a lot of familiar names. I think most of them have consolidated their position in the top 10, but just a quick shout out to them all. Now, so Mariner's obviously doing great in FPL. He's finally also out of the hospital. He's at home, and he wanted to have a little video played today, just 40-second clip for everyone for all the support and all the kind words you've been sending him since the incident he had. So I'll just play that along, and then we'll get going straight into the philosophy from there.
Hello, everybody. Mariner here. I just wanted to record a little video and thank you all for the fantastic support and well wishes that I've received during my recent illness. I'm pleased to report that so far it's all so far so good on that front, and I'm hoping to be back with you in a few weeks, certainly before the end of the season. In the meantime, obviously, I wish you all green arrows. And by the way, if you haven't had a cholesterol check, learn from the Mariner. What are you waiting for? Go and get one, because it crept up on me and it could creep up on anybody. Don't sleepwalk into a problem like I did. All the best, guys, and I'll see you real soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Great. So I think it's great to see him in such good spirits and looking like he's fighting back to his very best, hopefully, in the coming weeks and months.
Yeah, it really is. It's just good to see his face. You know, haven't seen him in so long. What a nice message to receive, and it comes with a good message. Certainly, if you are of a certain age, if you're pushing 40, even if you're in your 30s, it helps to get your cholesterol checked and make sure you maintain that.
Definitely. So let's go into the philosophy of the week then. This week, it's Lewis Carroll, a favorite of mine.
Yes, I wonder why he's a favorite of yours, Nima. I'm sure I can take. I'd get it with one guess. So Lewis Carroll, obviously wrote The Adventures of Alice in Wonderland, Through the Looking Glass, and he wrote Lives of a Cell, which is a great book as well. So this week's quote is, "If you want to inspire confidence, give plenty of statistics. It does not matter that they should be accurate or even intelligible, as long as there is enough of them." So why did I choose this quote? You know, I'm going to throw this one on you, Nima. What does this quote mean to you?
Yeah, so I think
this
this is a
bit of
good one
surprise.
because this is a good one for me because I was kind of growing up. A lot of my friends, when we debate football or banter each other, they would call me kind of stat man. It was almost like they felt that no matter what the debate was, there was always some kind of stat I had buried somewhere that I pull out and it would go with my viewpoint. So I've always made sure to be very careful and have lots of numbers and stats that I can use to kind of win an argument, as you say. But really, the reality of it is a lot of the time, I love the joke. They say something like 90% of stats are made up, including that stat itself. But you know, I think that says it all for me. I love that mentality that we're all just trying to kind of quantitatively show perhaps something that isn't so quantifiable all the time.
Yeah, we have an experience of something and we feel a need to validate it. So we get as many kind of like data points as we can and we throw it at the thing. It's like, see, that's why. And the more data points we get, the more confident we feel in our decisions. But we have to recognize that life is lived by experience, and experience is highly subjective.
No, definitely. I think so. And I think that that's pretty much how eye test goes, right? We could probably watch the same game of football and your kind of opinion of whether someone played well or not could differ vastly from someone else's. And the difference with kind of statistics, I suppose, is that they're meant to be more objective in the sense that, you know, you can't debate if there was 10 boxes or 11 touches in the box, because if it was 10 or 11, that number is captured. That's the stat. So I think, yes, to some element, eye test, like it is objective too, because you could say they were attacking down the right wing. They made their chances there. But that's still rooted in the numbers of, well, they had 10 shots from the right and 1 from the left. So there's always, I feel like numbers and stats are a good starting point, but it is blurry, as you say, because actually you could end up using those very quantifiable, objective truths, but twist them to make them shape to answer whatever you want in your more subjective opinion from an eye test point of view.
Yeah, and actually that stat you bring up, touches in the box, is a really good one. I love this stat, and I love when people use it because it's people only use it kind of to support a viewpoint that they already have, not really to prove anything. Like imagine a player, he goes into the box and he's an attacking player and he's super indecisive. So he doesn't know when to take a shot. So he's always taking extra touches. Then he has to touch the ball and he has to get out of the box and recycle the play. And he just had like 4 or 5 touches in the box on that one play and he didn't do anything with it. And the reason he had those touches is because he's not a decisive finisher. Then you say, oh, look, this player is so great. He has this many touches in the box, but he has that many touches in the box because he's not so great. So it's what the stats mean. The numbers are objectively true or false,
But what that
but their
means,
significance is not.
the conclusion you take from it,
Exactly.
that part we're building our own narrative, that's for sure.
Right.
No, I think that one was good. I think Mariner would be proud how we managed to link this one back to FPL, but I guess the worst statistics helps, but this was a very nice quote. I do like that one. So let's go straight to the FDR because I know we're cutting tight for time this week. We've only got about another hour or so to go, and so do start getting your questions in, guys. And there's a few on Twitter we're going to get through, but we're going to try to rattle through this week. There's obviously the Friday deadline too, so we want to get this out there for everyone to listen and get it in their ears on podcasts and VOD. For the Gameweek 32 and beyond period, I guess. So just looking at this, Gabe, is there anything that screams out to you? So for me, I guess the main thing is obviously with City and Liverpool playing each other, it feels madness to be targeting their assets. Despite last week's episode, we said these are the two teams we want to get assets from, as well as say Chelsea and then Arsenal and Spurs we already have. So it's like, what do you do then? Does that mean you just go for the Chelsea asset against Southampton away? Like, I think we start there. Like, let's look at the Southampton FDR and then from there, look at City Liverpool and see whether my conclusion is right that you kind of hold the City Liverpool assets you have, you don't buy new ones, but maybe you fast forward bringing in that second Chelsea or third Chelsea asset this week. I'd love to just start with Chelsea, I think. So against Southampton away, on attack, they're not looking good, is it? Minus 0.7 and on defense, minus 0.1. I guess a bit neutral, you could say, but it doesn't look like that. Doesn't scream to me as like this is a game I should be going and buying a second defender. Like I've got Rudiger. I don't think this is a game to go and buy James, for instance.
I mean, I think the concern with Chelsea is obviously James was rested last match, right? He came on he came on later, but he didn't start the game, and I think the concern is kind of that rotation. Chelsea pretty much have that third place solidified unless they, if they drop some points and they lose to you guys, to Arsenal, then they could be looking at a battle for fourth maybe, but I don't think they're too worried about that. I think they'll probably prioritize Europe. We'll see what they do this week against Real Madrid. But I agree. I think it's it's those concerns, it's the doubts that put me off of Chelsea. I certainly wouldn't be buying into their attack. Maybe for the what they have maybe for a double at some point. A punt on Havertz if you have enough City coverage. But
yeah, no,
I agree.
I think it's the defense is definitely where I'd be looking. But for me, I've got Robertson and Trent both playing against City, and it just seems mad to kind of use a transfer this week to either get Cancelo and get a player in the same game, but from City's side, or to go and get that second Chelsea defender when I already have Rudiger. I feel like the power of 2 free transfers after seeing, like we said last week, what that title race matchup ends up happening, and that's going to be far more valuable than having 2 free transfers. Then the reason I guess I bring Chelsea up specifically as well is that over the longer term, so game week 33 to 37, they do have a 9.6 defensive FDR in the beyond period. So that is by far the best in the league. Second to that is Man City at 7.3. The teams that are close to them, I wouldn't want their defenders. Watford 5.4, West Ham 5. It feels like Chelsea defense is definitely something to look at, and more so than their attack as well, because when you actually look at the long range FDR for attack, even that is still a -2. That's without the double added in yet, but I definitely think double Chelsea defense is viable. Maybe it's an alternative route to the people who've got Laporte and Cancelo or Trent and Robbo or Matip. So I think it is an option, but this week again, because it's not at Stamford Bridge, I'd be a bit hesitant using that transfer before knowing the outcome of Liverpool City. And I believe City have a better fixture in game week 33 as well. So again, like if I want a single game week or in 33, I'd rather wait and maybe then get Cancelo the following week. So there's lots of thought there. In terms of the
I guess
game,
one thing that I wanted to ask you, Nima, because and I think many people are in this situation as well with sitting with 2 Liverpool defenders, and it's Trent and Robertson, right? So you're looking at about 15 million or so, give or take, for those 2 defenders. And the FDR here is indicating we have a defensive FDR this week against Man City of -1.3. No surprise there. This was to be expected, right? And then we have, let's see, moving on to the 33 double, right? It's not great. Defensive FDR of -0.8. If you add both from the double,
I think
it's
it's just
negative
United home, yeah. So they only play United at home, yeah. So they've only got the one fixture, but that's
Yeah.
why I feel like maybe you could go early this week. Do you see what I mean? Like, but because Cancelo is the guy I want long term, or maybe a Chelsea defender, it just feels like, what's the point? Like, yes, like it's not the greatest fixture this week or 33 for Robbo,
Yeah.
But is 2 transfers and selling Robbo the following week better? Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and I think we'd both agree that what we said last week still applies. That having 2 free transfers after this game week, after game week 32, if you can save at least one free transfer this game week, I think it's really helpful. But I guess I'm just thinking about that kind of investment in Liverpool defense, and then looking at
15 million,
yeah, 15 million, right? It's
I just
a
feel like
lot.
it's too much. And last episode, everyone in the chat was telling me, "Oh, you're mad. I wouldn't sell Robbo, all this." But like, I think the reality for me is like I've enjoyed the points. I've had them for the periods where I needed them.
Yeah,
And when you look at this long range FDR from 33 to 37, the period in which I could sell Robbo to Cancelo or James, for instance, they have far better FDRs of 9.6 for Chelsea and 7.3 for City to the 2.7 for Liverpool in that period. So it just, I feel like that is my route, and no matter what I do, I'll be saving money.
So I guess my question is, will you go double Chelsea or double City for that period?
That's the situation here. So one route I was thinking about was to actually get Cancelo. So I want City. I don't have a City defender yet.
Right.
Then I would have had Rudiger, Cancelo, Trent.
Right.
I saw a plan in which I could sell Davies for a game week 33 and free up money in another position to do it, and he could go all the way to Cancelo, for instance. But actually, Robbo to Cancelo is so much better because I'm not ripping apart other parts of my team to then fit in Robbo, Trent, Cancelo, and Rudiger. So I think I'm just going to potentially look at now Robbo to Cancelo, do it in one move, and prioritize my second move somewhere for captaincy in game week 33, somewhere more with upside. Previously, I was going to sell Richarlison, downgrade him to like a 5 mil, like a Mateta or something, or a Cucho. But again, I looked at that, and now they have a double game week in 37, Everton, and I think as crap as they are, they're still probably going to be trying to fight to avoid relegation even then, that late on.
That's true.
They're going to be panicking even then. So he seems pretty nailed on to me to play, and I'm like, well, do I just kind of keep him now when I don't have a wild card? And is it worth selling him when he could be a good doubler for me in a future week? So I think I need to figure out: am I going to free hit in 36? Am I going to free hit in 37?
What about something like if you go Robbo down to Cancelo, right?
So that seems like a better, more viable thing, because then I can keep Richarlison.
Right. Well, yeah, I'll get to Richarlison in a second. I don't know about that, man. But if you go Robbo to Cancelo, can you afford who do you have? Davies? Can you afford Davies up to James?
So like a Laporte or James?
Laporte,
no. So
5.8?
that's the thing. So I think I would look at James, but I think I still am on that same boat, which I told you, which was I think I'll do Rudiger to James, but not now. Like I'll wait and hope Chelsea get knocked out of the Champions League.
I see.
Maybe not even get past Palace in the semi-final of the FA Cup, and then weigh that up and be like, okay, well, if Chelsea are out of all the cups, now I want the second Chelsea defender, not the second City defender. Whereas if Chelsea are in the cups, then maybe I'd rather get Laporte to partner Cancelo than chase James to partner Rudiger. So I think I'm going to wait and see again, like how these games play out. And I want to see whether the City Wolves game gets moved to game week 37 or 36. That's one of the few games that haven't been announced with the big list, but we'll come to the double gaming section shortly.
And I think, but you bring up a good point there. You just listed like a bunch of things. We're going to be we just got a bunch of information, right, of a bunch of fixtures that have been confirmed, but we're going to be getting a lot more information in the coming week or two with the cup games and all of this. So it does make sense to hold that transfer. But on Everton have maybe the most difficult schedule from now until the end of the season. Their attack FDR from 33 to 37 is negative 9.6. Defense FDR is negative 11.3. Are you sure you want to hang on to a player like Richarlison?
I think Gordon is a no-brainer at 4.5 just for my bench, but Richarlison is a bit more of a tough ask at that price point for sure. I guess it really depends what I can do with the 2 million. So if, for instance, come in game week 33 or in a later double, if I can turn someone into like a Coutinho when Villa have their double, for instance, that could be an option where I downgrade Richarlison to a Mateta, as I was saying. So I'm definitely keen. He looked good against Arsenal, obviously, from that first goal, but he's someone who I'm interested in, Mateta, I think. So he's definitely a viable pick. I think people who are wildcarding in game week 34, they're looking at the 4-5-1 and other kinds of interesting formations like that. So 5-4-1 even. So yeah, I think Kane plus 2 budget picks, that seems to be the way going forwards in terms of having 1 striker and 2 duds.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with you. Some other ones this week that kind of stand out here. Let's see. Let's take a quick look. So West Ham attack, right? Negative 1.5 against Brentford, away to Brentford. Brentford's good at home. They've been improving lately, but are they? I guess are they not whipping boys anymore? Is this a little unfair to West Ham? Or, I mean, it's not like we're really considering West Ham assets, are we?
No, I don't think so. I think Bowen is an exciting pick if someone wants to go for like a punt, but I think West Ham don't have any doubles.
Right.
They're not going to have any, I don't believe, and they may blank in 37 based on what happens with Europa and how far they go and how far Chelsea go in the tournaments they're in. So I'm kind of staying away from them, but
Mm-hmm.
it is true. Like it's even when we said defensively their numbers were okay for the next spell with 5 FDR over the 33 to 37 spell. So it's a really tough situation to be in. I love West Ham. I think they're doing great, but in the same way that we talk about don't get Leicester players despite their double because they might prioritize the Conference League, who's to say West Ham won't prioritize the Europa League?
Yeah.
I don't think they're in a top 4 battle. So again, like, I'm not going near West Ham attack just based on that. And there's no doubles. There could be a blank. And then on top of all of that, I would love to see them win the Europa League. So yeah, that might be unlikely, but let's see how they get on and how Moyes does. I think the only
Not
other
gonna happen. But and one more I wanted to bring up that I thought was really surprising, and again, it's similar to West Ham. It's not like we're really considering assets, but I just wanted to mention really quickly, and is Watford. Watford have the second best attack FDR in Gameweek 32. Obviously, they're home to Leeds, and they've had some players that have been, them shown some things. Cucho Hernandez, the Colombian, has shown some things. I think he has 2 goals in the last 4 or something like that. He has a couple big chances, so that could be an interesting one. Just for this week, I thought that number stood out.
So they've
And
got
then
some doubles coming up later as well, Watford. So they are definitely good picks. I think King and Dennis both didn't play, right? So it's an interesting shape up of their attacking assets they have.
I
Suddenly.
think Cucho has emerged as the one to go for there. And then I mean, Burnley has the best defensive FDR in Gameweek 32 away to Norwich. I still wouldn't trust Burnley defense.
No, I think I'll definitely play Weghorst over Richarlison this week. Obviously, he's playing Man United. That's not a game I'm going to play him in. Weghorst, the whole appeal was that he had the 4 points each double apparently from appearance, and then he also had the Norwich game. So I'm hoping he can do something against Norwich. I am disappointed he got a yellow card. So he only got 1 point against City. So now it looks like those 4 points might be 3 points this week, which is very frustrating. Cucho is definitely, though, I agree with you. He's my pick. I think I would run the Kane Mateta Cucho attack. Like that sounds so appealing to me. And then you could kind of rotate Cucho and Mateta each week based on which one you want to start. And you can go so heavy with your premium defenders and your top mids from these top teams because none of these assets are cheap from the big teams.
Yeah, and Palace have some good fixtures coming up. But would you go Mateta's what, 6.0? He's like 6 million.
He's at 5
like
mil.
Oh, he's at 5 mil. No wonder.
Yeah, I think he rose from like 4.9 to 5 mil or something.
Damn, that's a sexy front 3 then. I can't believe I said sexy front 3 this season, but that sounds good.
Yeah, because my thinking
Cucho
was like Elise I like the sound of, but the problem is there are so many midfielders I would want. There's so much value in midfield. I just can't see how I would go and get Elise when there's other options at that price point. But yeah, Mateta, yeah, he's 5.2 now, so he has risen a bit, but he's looking good. His minutes in the last games are 68 minutes, 64, 68, 30, 90. Before that, he did have a few rogue ones, but he still has 1, 18, 79, 76, 24, 30, 80, 27. So since game week 19, he's played a minute in every single game at least. Like even, half the time you're not going to start this guy, right? We're getting them as bench enablers.
Yeah, we don't want them coming in if they don't start though, right? Generally speaking.
No, probably not. But most of the time, it seems he starts and then gets subbed early. I think is the way I would look at that. And I think the early sub, like against Arsenal, was when the game was wrapped up, and it's a way of them protecting him for that semi-final against Chelsea. So I think that they are being like he's clearly number one choice right now, and I don't think we're going to see Edouard again as a starting striker for the rest of the season.
Doesn't seem that way. I mean, they do different things, Mateta and Edouard, and what Palace has been doing recently is that they need somebody to push that line forward, which is not really Edouard's strength. he's good at covering space and kind of supporting the midfield pressure and kind of dropping in as a target guy. We have a FPL Chin here in the chat, and I keep saying that Mateta's 5.2 and Cucho's 5.0. There's
So that is
you could get
10.2. Wow.
both of those cheaper than Kane.
That's mad.
That's awesome.
Just to say hi as well too. So I think this is RJ and Laura as well from the Only One Bonus Point podcast. So we recorded earlier. I went on as a guest. It's a long overdue session, and hoping to bring the lads on here as well, Gabe. I think you'll love the dynamic. So they're cousins, but one of them is an Arsenal fan and one of them is a Spurs fan, and
Brilliant.
you can imagine the episodes each week are so great, and let alone after a North London derby.
Well, I'll have to check that one out today. After I've got a couple shows today as well. So,
I
yeah,
think
this afternoon I'll have to
it's being
check out
edited. It should be available tomorrow morning on like Spotify and wherever
Perfect.
people get their pods. Yeah, so definitely check them out. They're great lads in the community who come to the meetups. But yeah, so just anyone else. So you said hi to D-Chin. Has anyone else snuck in? Podner snuck in since we spoke, and Jared Vittinger. So good to see you, Rajit as well. Good to see you, mate. So yeah, so we'll make sure we keep spotting people as they sneak in throughout the show. Before we go to the zonals, I just wanted to say a few final bits on the FDR. So we talked about most of the teams now. We've talked about kind of Chelsea against Southampton. We talked about City, Liverpool. We talked about Everton not having great fixtures in the horizon despite the doubles. Watford is a bit of a dark horse, as you say. West Ham's doing great. For Spurs, I guess this is worth talking about because last week we were talking about the kind of the Son to Kane switch, and one of the questions on Twitter, I wonder. We'll touch on it at the time in more detail, but they kind of said, what are the best free Spurs assets to have? I think we are in a situation now with them pushing on for top four, the win they had against Newcastle and Arsenal dropping points, that they are going to be looking to really go for it. And they don't have any other games. They don't have any other competitions, right? So for me, I think if you had Son or Kane, I said previously, like I would still try to get to Kane for the captaincy. Like this week, I'd want to captain him. But I think if you look at their points since like even Gameweek 26 or the whole season, they do seem to alternate with hauls as well. And I think having just one of them is still going to be incredible value, right, till the end of the season. Now, some are arguing about having both. I don't know if that's a thought. So before we were saying maybe you only want one plus Kulusevski because of the 5 million you save, but I'm not sure if Kulusevski can keep up with Son. Yes, you can do more with the money you save, but actually Son and Kane seem to just be destroying teams. And, you know, Kane had a man of the match performance, but got like 4 or 5 points. So it's in that 5-goal thriller. So yeah, I think for me, it's like, it's difficult because this week, Kane owners might be saying, well, should I sell Kane to get to Son? I think each week we're going to be potentially blinded by chasing the other one. And I think they're both just incredible assets. And if someone can get both into their team alongside Salah, I wouldn't be averse to it, is I guess what I'm getting at. I don't think there's a right answer, which last week I was maybe more hot-headed about, that you should definitely be bringing Kane for the captaincy.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kane was firing for a couple of game weeks, and the conversation was, you know, of the two, you have to have Kane, and then the conversation was even like, if you have Son, you selling him for Kane is a good idea, and then it's flipped back, and this reminds me, last season I had I think it was last season. It was a really rough start to the season, and or was it the season before? When was the season when Kane and Son they were just like smashing it every game week, and teams were playing a high line.
It was when everyone sold them like game week 8 because they had tough fixtures, and then they just carried on.
And it just kept going, right? They kept going. So I made the mistake of, and they were like, their underlying stats weren't great, right? They were overperforming their XG by I don't know, by like 3 times. It was ridiculous, right? So, I mean, I think we're seeing a little bit of the same thing here, where the Kane and Son kind of train, right, as it were, they lift each other up. And you mentioned it, Kane had a man of the match performance, but didn't get him any FPL points. If you're thinking of moving Kane to Son, then it feels like results based thinking to me, where you're looking back and like, well, this is how it worked out, so this is how it will work out. When you watch them play, I mean, they're the 2 assets to have, no doubt, and it could be either one kind of anytime. That being said, Spurs, I don't know if I'll be interested to see if Spurs can keep this up for the rest of the season. I hope they can, so they can make that race for 4th interesting. Obviously, you hope otherwise.
Yeah, no, I think they're doing very good work so far, but the season shows you just got to look back at the season. They've not been very consistent, and there's no way that Spurs and both Arsenal are not going to drop more points along the way. I think as it stands, there's 9 games to go. I was predicting that 70 points is going to be needed for 4th place, maybe 71, 72 max. With that in mind, Arsenal need to get 16 points out of their next 27. So that says it all. Like, they're going to lose at least another 11 points, if not more, and that's Arsenal. Tottenham, they're going to play Liverpool away. There's a chance to drop points there. They're also going to play Arsenal. Is going to be a big 6-pointer. Whichever team loses, that's going to be in trouble. And then on top of that, I think they got Villa this weekend, and they got Leicester as well. So all of those are 4 matches in which I could see them having issues. On the flip side, Arsenal, I think they've obviously got Spurs. They've also got Chelsea away. They do have West Ham as well. And then finally, they got United home. I don't see that one as a bad fixture. I'm okay with that. It's at home. But the other ones, I think there are also points where we could drop points. So definitely, there's a lot happening, but I think there's a lot of reactionary thinking as well. So Arsenal obviously had a terrible game against Palace. They were incredible. But the reality is there are road bumps along the way. Prior to that, they'd won the last 5 games. They had 15 points from the last 18. They were far more informed, and they're still in a better position than both United and Spurs in terms of the top 4 race. I think people very quickly want to hype up that there was a top 4 race happening, and it's exciting that now it's back on. But at the same time, I think people have gone way too crazy with their reactionary narratives of like, after one loss, suddenly Arsenal are done. Top 4's over. Top 4 for us was always a stretch goal. I didn't even think it was possible when we were sitting on 0 points after 3 games. And none of the pundits or experts had Arsenal in their top 4 predictions pre-season. So knowing that and having 0 points on the board when Spurs had 9 points in game week 3, I feel like we've come a long way to be level on points with an extra game to play. So yeah, I'm just think people are getting very reactionary. And Palace, they just did well against City. I think other teams like Liverpool and Chelsea went there and couldn't score against them. So they're a good team this season, as much as anyone wants to say otherwise.
Especially at home.
Especially at home. So I think that's the tough one for me. And Brighton are in dire straits recently. They've been doing terribly the last 5 or 6. And I hope we don't let them play themselves into form. I hope we use it as a chance to just catch up, get our points. And, if Villa can do it against Spurs, by the time match of the day on Saturday rolls around, Arsenal's going to be back and forth again. So very reactionary stuff for what could be a 5-day window where Spurs are 4th.
I don't know. I don't know if it's reactionary. Spurs have done. They've turned it up. They're playing well. They're creating tons of chances, tons of XG, and they've climbed back. They've climbed back into the race. And
they were always favorites. So this is what I'm trying to say. So just a few weeks
ago,
they were favorites before.
They
Arsenal.
weren't. But recently they haven't been favorites, right? Because
they dropped 5, right?
But yeah. So they dropped for a little while, and now they're back, and to be level on points, ahead on goal difference, but having played one more, I think both teams
are. It's a place they'll want to be in, yeah.
Yeah, and as
United will be gutted, by the way, about dropping points against Leicester even more so now that this has happened, because they could have really gotten into the middle of all this.
Yeah. Well, here's a question from FPL Escapades. Thoughts, and this one's for you here, Nima. Thoughts on how Tierney's injury will affect Arsenal as a team? Tavares is decent, but he was cut out so many times last night. Don't think Arteta will risk him in every game going forward. What are your thoughts?
I don't think Arteta will play him in barely any games going forward. He'll potentially play him at home to Brighton this weekend, because I think the lad's confidence will be shot already. So if he doesn't play, there's a big chance that the confidence is going to get worse. Now, we're unlikely to want to use him in the games against like West Ham, United, Chelsea and Spurs. I doubt we'll ever see him in those games. But some of these home fixtures, like against Brighton or Everton on the final day of the season, we're going to potentially need him to play with Tierney out. I am frustrated that Tierney's had to have a knee surgery after playing 180 minutes of friendlies for Scotland. It just seems totally ridiculous. Like, what's the point? Like, these weren't even World Cup qualifiers. It's just insane. What a waste. I think the problem with Tavares is he was completely out of his depth. It was his first start in the Prem, this calendar year, and his first start since playing in the Cup and being subbed in the 30-something minute. So he already had his confidence shot from his last game being 4 months ago, being subbed in 30 minutes, and now he's been subbed at half time, barely lasted any longer, and being culpable for pretty much both the goals. So I don't see him playing, but hopefully he starts some of these games where we can risk him, like home to Brighton. And in terms of how the team lines up, I think the biggest, most important thing is around Partey and whether his injury is long term, because Xhaka could play left back. I think he's more likely to play left back. We are not going to see Saka at left back, I don't think. He's far too important in the attack to be wasted there. So Xhaka can play left back. The problem there is that leaves Lokonga as the lone pivot as the number 6 with Odegaard and Smith Rowe either side. And I don't think he's going to want Lokonga to play that role by himself. So I'd rather kind of see Xhaka and Lokonga together paired in the midfield. And with that in mind, either Nuno needs to play some of these games, or Cedric is going to be inverted and go to the left wing instead of right wing. And that means we need Tomiyasu back. So I think a lot of it depends on Tomiyasu returning, going to right back, Cedric going to left back, allowing Xhaka to stay in the centre mid with Lokonga. There's no way in any of these different routes that I can see Saka going to left back. I think that would destroy our attack going forward. So I wouldn't want to do that.
Right.
Yeah, and I think I'd rather personally, Cedric wasn't great when he played left back for us, but I would still rather Cedric played left back with Tomiyasu right back. Then we have Nuno start there for the tough away games at least. You know, he's a young, raw player. He's very raw. I think it's unfair to expect so much of him. And equally, despite his mistakes, he wasn't the only one making mistakes. I think Gabriel was very rash. He's also quite young and raw. He's been a great defender for us, but he quite aggressive. He charges forward and he can leave people exposed. I think one of the goals, Nuno kind of thought Gabriel had it and left it for him. He should have tracked his runner. He should have stuck with him. He should have, but he kind of thought Gabriel had it, who also didn't have it. It's all a bit of a calamity.
It was inexperience on both ends, right? He charged out, didn't have it, didn't track the run. So that, I think that showed up on both ends. Nima, I have a question for you regarding, you know, I want to, before we move on to the zonals here, because I know we're mindful of the time.
Oh, yeah.
I want to ask you about United. Are you considering any United assets? You know, they have the best defensive, according to the FDR. They have the best, the best attack FDR for the double and 33 at 4.7, and they have the third best defensive FDR at 2.0. Combining them, you know, they have the best combined FDR of 6.7 and for the double and 33.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's really good. So that's where I'm looking for captaincy. And my original plan was kind of Kane to Ronaldo, hokey cokey. I don't feel comfortable sending Kane at home to Brighton.
Right.
So now I'm kind of questioning, is there a way to get to Man United attack without like losing a Spurs attacker? And I don't know if there is. It's really difficult. And I think I might just have to take a calculated risk and still do it anyway, potentially. But that's what the 2 free transfers is for. Like, I really want to get into a situation where I get to see another game from United, because that United-Leicester game did not inspire much from me. I'll be honest with you. They were lucky to get away with a draw. You could say maybe they could have won it too. Rashford did individual skill to get past 3 players, and then Elanga tackled him in the last second. So God knows what was going on there. But inject that, man. Like, I enjoyed that. I'm not going to lie. But God, what was going on there, tackling each other. But yeah, I think Sancho, Bruno, and Ronaldo, they're all options I'd consider for the double. Captaincy in mind. Our friend FPL Pig, there's this singing pig. He actually went without Salah in Gameweek 31, where I brought Salah back. He went and bought Bruno and captained him. And he's now got a Bruno captain this week as well, in Gameweek 32 against Everton. You know, when City and Liverpool play each other, and we're all going for kind of maybe Kane at Villa or Son at Villa. So he's going to have his captain Bruno sorted for the next 2. I do like it, but it just really depends how they look in this 32 game against Everton, because Everton have been dire, as we say. And if Everton still look good against United, or United struggle to look good against Everton, then I'm wondering, do I just kind of not worry about it? Do I captain Saka in the double game week, or do I just captain a single game week like Kane or Salah? Like, do I just fuck United altogether? Defensively, I'm not going near that boat, regardless of the FDR, just because I want the defenders from the best defenses in the team, and City, Chelsea, Liverpool are the 3 teams I want my defenses from going forwards.
Yeah, I just honestly, I don't see any plan or methodology or hope for the United attack. When I watch them, I look at them and I don't want any of the assets based on the eye test, right? The stats kind of back it up here, even away to Everton. I mean, I think it's Everton haven't won a game away since like November or something like that. Everton are putrid, but they are especially putrid away. And at home, they're not good, but they're less, you know, they're not as bad at home. So, you know, I'm not too hopeful for United away to Everton. And then, am I going to invest in them just for the double when one of the matches is against Liverpool? I I'm probably looking to fade altogether. Although the stats here, like we said in the quote earlier, throw a bunch of numbers at it, and the stats are saying to buy United assets. But
they'll be saying that about all the other assets from the double game weeks: Burnley,
yeah,
Everton, Watford. So I think these doubles have really been screwing with me. I'm a bit surprised. I honestly think United are in the mix. Conte, I thought he was just playing mind games earlier, but he essentially said we need a miracle for one of Spurs or Arsenal to come top four because it's United's to lose. He said that, and then United went and dropped points against Leicester. So clearly his mind games worked. But
yeah.
mind games aside, he has a point. Like everyone was talking about these top four challenging for the title, and United was one of those four. And now they're somehow like just not in the top four conversation. And I think it may have been very different had they got that win and Rashford and Elanga hadn't gone in each other's way. Equally, Leicester could have scored a bag of goals. I think we've got a question about West Ham leapfrogging Man United. I don't think so, personally. I think West Ham's going deep into the Europa, hopefully, and that will keep them distracted. And I don't think they'll really worry about competing with United. I think United, once Ronaldo returns, I think we might see them suddenly kick it up a notch. I would never write off a team that has Ronaldo or Kane. That's why I think both of them are very capable of top four, and it makes it a very exciting race with Arsenal. I'm not letting Man United fans get away with trying to say our season's done, we have nothing to play for, top four's over, because if they do get top four, they won't stop giving banter all summer. So you can't hide from the hidings and the insults for the next 7 weeks by pretending you're not part of this top four race, guys. You lost to Leicester, you're part of the top four race, sort it out. If you can sort it out, there's still time. 9 games to go. Yeah, I don't think they're on the beach, Podner. I think you can't be on a beach when you can mathematically come top four. They're 3 points behind Arsenal. Like they could easily do this. They even play Arsenal in that time. So I'm sorry. Like United can't escape by saying we're so bad and we're really bad and we need a rebuild.
I'm going to disagree. I think they can. I think they are that bad. I don't think they're anywhere near challenging for top four. I don't think they're even part of the conversation anymore. Yes, they're
Not
3 points.
anymore.
They're only 3 points back, but you guys have a game in hand. It's not an easy game, is it? Is it the Chelsea one?
I guess it could be any of them. You could say the game in hand is against Chelsea, Spurs.
Well, it's the one that you haven't played.
Yeah. But it could be any of them because it depends when we play it, right? Because we'll have other doubles as well.
so that'll be the extra game. I don't know. I do think United fans need to be looking to the summer and next season at this point. Hopefully, I don't know. Do they even want Europa? Maybe stay out of Europe for a season? It worked for you guys. It worked for Arsenal. Yeah. So
it's worked for Spurs and Liverpool in previous seasons, Chelsea as well. It's always nice to have one thing to focus on for sure.
Yeah.
But let's go to the zonals then, because we are cutting it fine, as you say. I think if we do maybe just like 2 or 3 specific zonals that look good, from there we'll go into kind of the Rumi Pick and the captaincy and double games. We saw quite a bit. I think let's try to get to like questions maybe at 20 past. So 15 minutes for all of those things I just said. Zonals, Rumi, captaincy, and double game weeks, all in 15 minutes somehow.
All right, we got 5 minutes here. Let's go. Okay. Zonals in 5.
Well, centre for Arsenal still Lacazette, but I think this is where we now finally have to say, let's take the eye test into the answer and not just look at the numbers. And when I looked at Lacazette, I've kind of forgiven the shortcomings in previous matches because he was bringing a lot into play from the kind of link up with the youngsters, but he's not even really doing that right now. And I think he's a big blunt instrument. There's zero presence in our box. And I really don't like the look of holding him. He obviously has the double in 33, but I'm close to the point where I would hope Arteta can be creative and find a new creative solution to this problem and maybe even try Martinelli as striker in a few games. I'm not very pleased with what I'm seeing. He is like, we need an elite centre forward to take us to the next level as a team. And I think there were issues with other players. We said Partey, Odegaard, Gabriel, Tavares. None of them were at the races against Palace. But Laka still, to me, when I looked at him, he gave those defenders, Gueye and Anderson, like the easiest day they'll ever have in the Premier centre back in their career.
And they took advantage of it. That Anderson had a phenomenal game. I've never seen him play so well. I always knew he had that vision, but that pass was so sweet for that goal. But Lacazette is an interesting one, and this is why I was so against Lacazette a few weeks ago, because he will perform for a few weeks, right? He'll come out there and he'll be exactly what you need, and this is why it's such a conundrum. Like, what do we do with Lacazette? He's good sometimes, and then he stops being good. It's like he runs out of ideas or something, and then he's just like not playing well, or not, or maybe it's the role, maybe his role is changing, and but it's, you know, against Arsenal, you know, or sorry, against Palace, Arsenal you guys couldn't do what you wanted to do in that game, right? And I
Yeah,
think
Gallagher completely shut us down.
yes,
Mitchell, Gay, all of them. They just had a number.
they had a gear more than you guys, a higher gear than you guys did in that match, and I think that's what happens at Selhurst Park. But you know, I own Lacazette. I'm happy to keep him this game week. I have to say he could be on the chopping block for me for you know, maybe to free up some money, maybe go down to a Cucho or something like that we had talked about. Because even though, you know, Southampton away, who knows, and then Chelsea. So we had said last week that hanging on to Lacazette was
It was a
probably
good
the
idea
right
for a
good
few
idea.
weeks. Yeah.
And I think
But now it's
maybe
starting to
we're
move
feeling a
towards
little bit
more
differently.
urgent. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
turning into way more urgent of a
Yeah.
situation. The
Well,
last thing you want is to see him bench for Martinelli in a few weeks.
yeah, I'm trying to think who was it that said that. Oh, it was Lucian. It was FPL teacher. He on his podcast. He was saying that Lacazette looks good. This was before the match yesterday. So Lacazette looks good. He has good fixtures. The stats are pretty good, but it's just a slimy feeling owning him. And
You don't want to
that's
watch a
a
game with, like, he's had 4 goals from like 17 games this season. He's got
yeah.
penalties as well, but he's not really getting them or not scoring them when he gets them. It's just a nightmare, despite the fact he has the best FDR zonally from 33 to 36 as well. I think the numbers, they're telling us one side of the story, and I think I would be looking to move him on.
Yes.
Spurs and Villa, again, the second highest, I guess, central. So the zonal is with Kane, so he's there at 20.7. So that is pretty high still, I think.
You
And
know
we
what's
said this
interesting
last
about
time,
that
right?
one, Nima, is how low the left is for Son. If it's so high, and so this is what I like to do with the zonals, right? Is when we compare them, 3.8 centrally for Spurs against Villa, but only 2.6 from the left, which probably means they will rely more on Kane, right? 3.6 from the right could mean Kulusevski might see some magic here, but really I think the one you want as according to the zonals is Kane because of the disparity between the center and the left.
Yeah, no, totally. So I think, yeah, if you only had one, and people were saying in the chat, it's the whole structure, right? There's no striker they want. They want Cucho plus Mateta or Gelhardt and then Kane. Whereas in midfield, there's going to be options they want to buy for these doubles now that they've been announced. On that note, I think we go to the doubles because that's probably the topic of the hour. And just have a very quick little look at those. Because I think in terms of zonals, we covered a lot of these same matchups last week. So the 33 doubles are still the same. Now it's stretching from 33 to 36, so it's maybe going one game week longer. But if anyone wants to really see a deep dive into these zonals, I'd say go check the matchup show for the last game. We can go to that timestamp and it will cover a lot more details about these specific zonals. But otherwise, I think let's go quickly to double game weeks before we look at Rumi and captaincy. So this is Ben Krillin's fixture ticker, so thank you for this. You'll notice it's a little bit different to his more colorful version because people complained to him that they thought it was too hard to read, and he was getting loads of comments on Reddit about they want it in a different way. So he made it an easier, cleaner way to read, to understand which ones are doubles. He says he understands why this is easier, but for his own transfer planning, he'd rather have the more complex version where he can really plan his transfers based on FDRs built into this. This isn't really FDRs here. This is just pure fixture play. So green is single game week, yellow is a confirmed double, purple are unlikely double game weeks, 15 to 30% odds, blue are possible double game weeks, 30 to 70% odds, and then orange are the likely double game weeks with 70 to 85%. I think my camera disappeared for a second, but I'm back. So 33 we won't talk about. I think everyone knows which team's double at this stage now and which one's blank. What's interesting is that 34 and 35, there's still some potential but unlikely doubles there that haven't landed yet. So Chelsea could have a double against West Ham and Man United. Man United could have a double against Arsenal and Chelsea that week. Equally, in 35, another unlikely double at the moment is Villa versus Norwich and Crystal Palace. That's where I was going to talk about maybe you could get the Coutinho where you're downgrading like a Richarlison to a 5 mil striker. That's where you could go to a Coutinho from a dud midfielder as well, if they get this double. Chelsea could have Everton and Man United. Crystal Palace could have Southampton and Aston Villa. Man United could have Brentford and Chelsea. I think the one thing to note here then is suddenly this talk of getting a United asset for 33 as a captain, it might intensify if they get a double-double and they do have like Arsenal, Chelsea the following double, or Brentford, Chelsea in 35. That might give you more reason to go down that route. But these are unlikely doubles, mind you. In terms of
Yeah.
likely doubles and confirmed doubles, so 36 and 37, they're all out now. So 36, Arsenal are confirmed to have Leeds and Tottenham. Villa are confirmed to have Burnley and Liverpool. Chelsea are going to have Wolves and Leeds. Everton are going to have Leicester and Watford. Leeds are going to have Arsenal and Chelsea. Leicester are going to have Everton and Norwich. So that's another good one for Leicester again. And then Liverpool are going to have Tottenham and Villa. Norwich are going to have West Ham and Leicester. Tottenham, Liverpool and Arsenal. And finally, Watford, Crystal Palace and Everton. Now, what this tells us is 10 teams double already. Then there's the possible doubles of City, West Ham and Wolves, who all three of those could double. That's, 10 teams confirmed, maybe up to 16 teams in the whole of the league could have a double. I was looking to free hit that week with my one free hit, but I had a look at my bus team, and without any transfers going forwards, I already have 12 or 13 doublers that week. Now, maybe I want to get rid of Spurs for their double against Liverpool and Arsenal and go after like a City. But as it stands, City don't have that double. If City's double gets confirmed as like Newcastle and West Ham or Newcastle and Wolves in 36, maybe then it's exciting to still free hit then and move on my Spurs assets for their tougher double for better City assets. However, City could double in 37 instead, right? And if they do that, that would be West Ham and Wolves. And maybe that's a week to free hit because I already have loads of doublers, as we said, for 36. So I think we still need to see more info. The info isn't quite there. My biggest takeaway from all of this is that you could probably get into a situation now where buying like a Leicester mid for 33, that could pay benefits for 36 if you're no longer going to free hit then. And maybe you don't free hit in 36 and 37. Maybe it's even 34 or 35 if those more unlikely doubles appear. So I think what this tells us is, although 32 is a normal week for the first time in months, the rest of the season could still be quite chaotic all the way up until game week 38. So there's still a lot more of the same new kind of environment we have of this season of just double blank. There's still more of that to come, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you hit on the good point there of the free hit in 36. Most of us will be pretty well set up for 36, and that's why I've used both my free hits and with that in mind. And I think 36 is an easy bench boost if you're still holding that chip, just because we'll naturally be set up for that. Probably won't even have to take hits to get solid assets from there. But it is interesting, the idea of fading Tottenham by 36 and moving, shifting towards City. Certainly, if they get that, right now the confirmed double for 36, but you could even shift elsewhere. You could go like from Spurs assets to maybe Leicester assets. We talked about there. Newcastle
they could have
and Everton
another double. Yeah.
Yeah, they play Everton twice in 4 game weeks there, and then they have Norwich and Watford. So Leicester, and if who are you liking at Leicester? Would you go Barnes? Would you go Madison?
So yeah, I have Barnes already. I am considering doubling up with Madison in 33. That is a thought. I could potentially sell Kulusevski for that, and I am open to that idea. I do like their fixture in 33 as well, if I'm honest. It's Newcastle and Everton, as you say. They then have Villa, Tottenham, but then they have Everton, Norwich, Watford, Chelsea, Southampton. And, that's 3 doubles in the space of 5 game weeks. And most of them are good fixtures apart from the Chelsea match. So,
and 36 is both home.
Yeah, that is an incredible one. My difficulty is without knowing whether City double in 36 or 37, I don't yet know which week I'm going to kind of, use my free hit. And so whatever assets I'm buying, it gives me more reason to roll in 32, as we were saying, because I really want to just try to get more info and see what happens in the cups. And the issue is the FA Cup semi-final is in 33, right? So we won't know who gets to the final till after the 33 deadline and before 34. So I can't buy the Leicester mid thinking, oh, well, I'm buying them because I'm not free hitting. Whereas if I was free hitting in 36, I wouldn't buy Madison in 33 because I already have Barnes. So I need to I'm going to have to make a couple of gut calls without the full info in front of me. So let's see how that goes. And 37, just to quickly round off before we go, I didn't mention this, but if you're listening on pod, come and have a look at the timestamp for the double game week graphic. The confirmed doubles there, I didn't read them out fully, was Burnley against Tottenham and Villa, Everton against Brentford and Crystal Palace, both at home, Leicester, Watford, Chelsea. There could be a blank for City and Chelsea. So as well as City having a am I reading that right? So yeah, no, West Ham could blank against Chelsea is the one I'm looking at. So that could be a blank. It's a 30 to 40% chance. It relies on the whole kind of City going all the way and Chelsea going all the way in their respective cups. In terms of the more likely doubles, are sort of Villa versus Crystal Palace Burnley. That could be moved to 37. And then Chelsea versus Man United Leicester could be moved to 37. And Crystal Palace versus Aston Villa Everton. Those are all quite likely doubles to move there. So again, until we know this full picture, it's hard to know when to free hit. I think if I had 2 free hits, I would probably still try to free hit in 33 for one of them. Even though it's risky because there's single game weekers with good games, which we said last episode. I think there's enough upside to risk it. And then you could use your second one in whichever you prefer out of kind of 35 to 37. I think they're all viable. But let's go to the captaincy and Rumi pick from here because I think a lot more will come out of the woodwork and we'll be coming back to this graphic over the coming episodes, I'm sure. So we're on the Rumi pick.
All right. So here we go with the Rumi pick this week. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Last week it was Riyad Mahrez, Raheem Sterling Hall. He played on that right hand side where I thought Mahrez would play. Mahrez didn't play, I guess. Still, so that was unlucky there. But the idea was right. So hopefully we're on the right track with the Rumi pick. And Lo, I've gone kind of like way left field with this one. I've gone overboard with a Watford player. We've spoken about him on the show already. It's Cucho Hernandez against Leeds, who have conceded the most XG this year so far. And the Rumi quote is, "Sell your cleverness and buy bewilderment." And what that means to me is sometimes you have to let go of thought and just live in wonder. Cleverness is about analysis and seeing like tricks, and then sometimes you just have to stop thinking and go with the vibes. So I'm going Cucho Hernandez, the Colombian, for the Colombian vibes this week against Leeds.
I like that. He's definitely someone I'm looking at, and he is probably my biggest transfer target alongside Mateta. Should Richarlison or Weghorst go out my team, they both have doubles in the future, which is not very very appealing for me to sell them. But if it allows me to upgrade and get better players like Cancelo, then maybe I need to go that way. So I am not going to play all about FPL video this week because we're cut for time, but obviously we have a strategic partnership with them and you can get all your free FPL content there for all formats, including UCL, which is on tonight as well. So good luck to UCL FPL managers. Before we go into the captaincy metric, I just want to do a quick section on Manscaped again. So give me 1 second. I'm trying to get to just me and you. Don't know how do we get rid of this? There we go. Okay. All right. Yeah. I'm rusty from a week off. Bloody hell. I'll start the timestamp here so they don't watch back before it. All right. So I think this is the third time we're talking about this, but okay. So everyone, I'm just gonna get this going. Okay. What's the time? There we go. So support for Net That Haul this week in Gameweek 32 is brought to you by Manscaped. They're the best in men's below the waist grooming. Champions of the world, Manscaped. They offer precision engineered tools for your family jewels. We've got very lucky and we were gifted the Lawnmower 4.0 and we joined 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with, their shave below the groin. We've talked about personal experiences in the last 2 episodes, haven't we, Gabe? So we won't repeat any of those. You can go back to those timestamps if you want to have a good laugh, but it's a very genuine, authentic stories of how Manscaped and lawn mowing has changed our lives.
You mentioned champion, right? And I have to say, manscaping has made me feel like a champ. I feel like a champion. My balls have been thanking me for about a month now. And I'm just, that feels good to get appreciation from testicular appreciation, if you will.
No, I agree. And I think what I would say, guys, is if you've been shaving with the same nut trimmer on your face, then you've been doing it wrong. No person wants to end up with pubes in their mouth. So it's time to get your own ball hair and body trimmer with Manscaped to make me time the best time. If you want to get access to this exclusive 20% off and free shipping, use the code NTH20 at manscaped.com. That's going to give you 20% off and free shipping. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped.
They have ball deodorant. They have a revitalizer spray. You spray it on there, air dry, and feels nice and fresh. It's great stuff. Treat yourselves.
Yeah, no, I was honestly, I couldn't believe it. There's obviously the crop reviver, there's the ball toner.
Yeah.
There were so many things to add to my hygiene routine that I didn't know I was missing. And I don't think I could ever go back.
Gotta love toning the balls.
Yeah, so definitely hit that up, guys. Hashtag ad, as we say. We've been partnering with them this month and for the rest of April. So support to you for that haul is brought to you by Manscaped, and we'll pin the comments so you can go and use the code in the chat and on podcast and video. So let's go to the captaincy metric, the moment that everyone I'm sure here in the live chat has been waiting for. We're back down to 78% from 80%. Obviously, it wasn't ideal last week against Watford when Salah blanked, so that's brought us down a little bit on the metric. But without further ado, let's go into what the Game Week 32 captain number 1 is. Great. Looks like it's not Salah or a Liverpool player leading the pack this week, Gabe.
Where is Salah?
Where is Salah? That's a very good question. I just scrolled all the way to the end. Maybe he is leading the pack and he's cropped from the top. or I think he's just been dropped because of how good City's numbers are.
No.
Do you see? Because I don't see any other Liverpool player
There are
there.
no Liverpool players in there.
There's not a single one made. This might. So someone asked last week, how many times has Salah not been number 1 on the captaincy metric? And I feel like, this is like the ultimate kind of follow-up game week where there is no Liverpool players.
This is a mistake. There's no way Salah is lower than Weghorst. Come on. Fucking lower than Harvey Barnes.
We're going to have to update this on the community tab again if it is wrong.
We'll need to update this one.
As far as it stands, I'm going to believe that it's telling me that Kane is at 101. He has the highest haul rate at 42% as well. So, for me, that is someone who I am very excited by. The FDRs 120 as it is for Son. I think it's what we were saying earlier. Whichever one you have, they're both perfectly fine, and they are a captain for this week. Fernandez, who we mentioned, Pick has, he's up there in third, so he'll be very happy to see that. I think United against Everton is a great option, despite how lackluster United have looked. It's a nice audition for the double game week ahead. And Rafinha is very high up here on his final game before the blank game week. I guess, is there any shocks to you here apart from Liverpool, which we will correct later on Twitter if it is wrong? And if it's not wrong, then this is the correct metric.
Yeah, not really. No, I mean, this makes a lot of sense. Rafinha's stats have been good. They've been really good. I mean, I brought Rafinha in on my wild card in game week 28 or something like that. And any Rafinha owner knows that we've been, I mean, the team has not been good, but we've been unlucky, I think, with him. So I'm not surprised to see him so high up on the metric here. I am a little bit surprised to see Martinelli that high up there, especially since he didn't start last match. And the one thing I'll say about it, I'll have my bus team captain right now is currently on Kane as well, so he's top of the metric here. So it'll remain on Kane as I adhere to the metric all season. However, I believe Marvelous Nakamba is due to return for Villa, and I think he'll just provide some defensive stability. And Douglas Luiz has not been playing well as far as that holding mid goes. So I think that could make things a little bit more difficult. But I think still I would believe that Kane is the standout choice.
Yeah, no, I'm very happy with the Kane captaincy. There's no way I'm looking anywhere else.
Yeah,
I'm very happy with that. I think we were unlucky to not get more points from him this week. And those who went against the Salah captaincy, they were very elated when he blanked, but it wasn't for much gain in the end. And it feels like a shame because it could have been big upside and there could have been big rewards for them. So let's go straight into the questions from here with the metric up, because I think the metric is captaincy metric is a nice thing to have up with the kind of questions that are coming in. So there's some ones in the live chat that I'm going to pull up. Thank you, guys. But there is 2 from Twitter I'm just going to quickly read out first. So the first one is from Ignatius Brian L1. He says, what to do with Martinelli, hold or sell? I think what this shows me with him so high up in the captaincy metric, he's a straight hold with the injury issues already. We saw the first thing that happened was, Tavares got subbed for Martinelli. Xhaka moved to left back. So for me, he's a straight hold. As I mentioned, Laka's been lackluster. No pun intended, and I think we may see Arteta get creative and try Martinelli through the middle at some point soon. So let's kind of see what the Arsenal formations look like, but I would still hold out for more info. He's got the double coming. There's no one I would be looking to go to. If you're convinced he's not going to start by game week 33, maybe you get a Leicester midfielder for him as a replacement. But I'm still very happy to hold him. I think he's great. FPL Onside, Rich Maple Lions on Twitter. He asks a couple of questions. So first one is best Jimenez replacement. So he must have benched him last week. He's wondering where to go from here. And I think I would point you to the Rumi Pick section. So go have a listen to that FPL Onside. You get your answer there. He also asked the best free Spurs assets to own. Do you have any hard feelings on this? I think we said that the forwards, there's not many to pick. So kind of Kane
picks
Kulu
himself.
and Doherty are like quite a nice free if you want to save. Really, though, if you can afford the Kane, Son, Doherty trio, like that's probably where you want to be.
I would, yeah, I agree. That's where you want to be.
But like, if you have to have free, I'm not saying you need to have the defensive asset. Like the defensive FDR did not look good, but
right.
He says which are the best free Spurs assets to own. So I'm assuming there's no choice to say just have two.
Yeah,
because I wouldn't personally tip any of the defenders as good as Doherty has been, but.
Yeah, I agree. And then there's so much upside in some of the other defenders right now that I don't know if I would trust Doherty. I think the question would be is Kulusevski a decent third option? And I think at his price he could be. It wouldn't be for me. That's a little too much invested in a team that's not City or Liverpool. But I think that's the way I would go if I owned 3 Spurs assets. It would probably be the person I myself have maligned, Kulusevski, would be my third, despite trashing him last week.
And then the final question from FPL Onside, it says all about best this week from him. Best Jimenez replacement, best free Spurs players, and finally the best captain option for Gameweek 32. So, well, you're in the right section for this. It's even on the screen. So I'll leave that one with you and go back to the Captaincy Metric timestamp. Final Twitter question is from @FPL_robots with a Z. They ask, when's the best time to use the free hit? Gameweek 33 or 37? I currently only have 4 doublers for Gameweek 33 and none for Gameweek 37. I think for me, that tells you what you need to know. I would go for Gameweek 37 with 0 doublers at the moment. 36 should be more navigatable with 10 to 14 teams potentially could have doubles. And 33, I think you got 4 now. Maybe you can get to 5 or 6 with some transfers and hits. The single Gameweek fixtures are too good to worry about free hitting this week, I think. 4 is a good position to start from, I believe. But would you go against that? Would you say to go for 33 over 37 in his specific situation?
No, I don't think so. And you mentioned it earlier, the single game week players with great fixtures in 33. I only have 4 at the moment for double game week players. I'll have 2 free transfers by then, so that might change. But I would target. I kind of like that idea. Like in 36, it seems I kind of like the idea of 37. Because some of those teams, if you go heavy on 36, you may not have some of them for 37. Many people may not have a lot of doublers for 37. So I think there could be some upside in the free hit in 37.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think both 37 and 33 are the 2 weeks with maybe the most risk because you're going to sell assets that you might not want to sell for that week just to get like a doubler on the free hit. But I'm with you. I've got 1 left. I'm probably going to go for 37. The only way I'd go for 36 is if the City double falls in 36. My main point of free hitting is to get the City players chasing a title. That's kind of my goal here. Now let's go to the questions in the live chat before we leave. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to go to a couple more last questions that I've seen coming up. There's some really good ones, actually. So one from our friends, Only One Bonus Point FPL podcast, was how important do you think it is to keep Trent in your team, Gabe?
I don't think it's as important as it has been all season. I think it's less important now than it has been all season. And I think the reason is because Robbo has been putting up really good stats, actually better stats than Trent recently. And you could do a lot, like say with that saving. Say if you drop down Trent to Robbo, that could mean that maybe you upgrade elsewhere to a Cancelo or to a James or something like that. So obviously team dependent, but it's less important now than it has been all season, in my opinion.
I think definitely, like if you're saying to go without Trent, I would want at least Robbo in there.
Yep.
I wouldn't be going without either of them. So I think I'm in that situation where I'll have to make a call very soon which of the 2 I sell. And I've always said Robertson, but based on current form, really it should be Trent I'm selling. He has like 1 assist in like 10 game weeks. But
if you go Trent down to Cancelo, could you then go Davies up to James?
See, that sounds like I might be able to afford that, and then I don't really need to then even worry about selling Richarlison for the money. Like maybe Richarlison just kind of stays till the end of the season and rots. So two more final questions I see here, or three of them. So FPL Trinity Jigs, good to see you as well, mate. So he's thinking Salah out for Bruno this week. So he has like kind of the captain for 32 and 33, and then wildcard 34 to bring him back. He doesn't seem like he's going to lose much. I lost 0.4 million when I did a similar move for game week 30. My opinion on this is a tough one. I think because he has the wild card, it's possible that he should go for it. But without a wild card, I wouldn't be going near this, I don't think. Equally, you could debate, Gabe, that people are talking about selling, say, Kane or Son to do Bruno or Ronaldo hokey cokey. But on current form, should we not be selling Salah for the hokey cokey rather than the Spurs boys?
Salah out for Bruno, Liverpool attacker, Liverpool fighting for the title, out for a superstar midfielder on a team that can't get their shit together, that has no idea what they're doing or who they're playing with or who's giving orders or anything. I wouldn't do it, but I can see the appeal. You know, Bruno was pretty high on the captaincy metric, so the stats are there. But it would not be for me. I'd want the more motivated player. We talked last week about how important psychology is right now towards the end of the season, and I think Salah, he's gonna be gunning for the goals record and all of that. So I would stick with the guy with a lot more to play.
Yeah, that's a good shout. And I think let us know on Twitter before the deadline on Friday what else you could do, Jigs, because I'm sure that there are other exciting options, and you probably already have some kind of Spurs attacker that you could captain this week. I can see the appeal in chasing the upside from United, but it would definitely be a punt with zero evidence prior to this beyond the fact that Everton are crap and that Norwich are crap, because, you know, the second fixture in the double is Liverpool. FPL Safa, so one of the final two questions now. So who do you guys reckon are the ideal free premium defensive assets? I think we would probably agree that it's kind of Robertson, Cancelo, and James, right? Are the three that we like the look of.
It's a debate. It's an interesting debate between Trent and Robertson, but I think so. I think Robertson, Cancelo, and James, and I could see, those are the three premium, but I'm going 5 premium. I'm going 5 at the back for the rest of the season, and if there's rotation, I'll have decent coverage with some midfielders. But I think I'd agree to, if you're just doing 3 premium, I might stick with Trent in that case. I think you go down to Robbo if you're looking to maybe upgrade at another defensive position. So maybe with 3 Trent, Cancelo, and James, and then if you're doing 4, then I'd say Robbo, Cancelo, James, and then add one of your choosing.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm currently on 3 of them, but I will be on 4 by the time I get Cancelo if I choose to keep my double Liverpool defense. I'm not sure yet. So, final question for me was from Hodafi about whether it should be Cucho or Mateta for the game week 32 transfer in. They're going to be a bench option, and then also an opinion on a 38 free hit, because they already have wildcard and bench boost for 36. So I'm guessing they could wildcard 34, 35, bench boost 36, and then maybe free hit 38 instead. So just those 2 questions, and then we'll get out of here.
Right. I mean, so I think this week we like Cucho. Maybe for the run in longer term, Mateta might be a better option. So that's why having both is so nice. Like you mentioned at the beginning of the show, Nima.
I think definitely Cucho this week. But Mateta going forwards with the double and 36 and stuff, that does seem very appealing.
Yeah, I agree. And then as far as the free hit in game week 38, I would look for that free hit in game week 37, as we just mentioned. 38 could be fun. A free hit 38 is always a good time. You finish the season on a high, having some fun. Hopefully, as long as it works out. But I think that game week 37, depending on how those doubles land, like the city doubles and stuff like that, could provide significant.
I think it might look a lot more enticing to you by then if those fixtures land in there. I'm not against the 38 free hit as a parting thought. I think it is possible. The problem with it for me is with all 10 games happening at once, the amount of fake news you're going to have on Twitter, like you could be coming up to deadline just panicking that like 5 or 6 of the free hit players you picked are not going to start. There's no double game week to maximize your gains from the players you sell on the free hit. So there's a bigger opportunity and risk that your non-free hit team could have outscored your free hit team because everyone just has one fixture. So you're not even like trading a single game week over a good fixture for a game week who's got 2, but they're not as good. I think it's very high risk. It's a lot of stress and tension, and it's proper like clutch moment. If you think you can hack that and the intensity on your heartstring, then go for it. But 38 is not for me just for that alone.
It's a game week full of variance, so you could fall on either side of that variance, and that's just luck. That's going to be down to luck. If you fall on the right side of that variance, though, you fly, and that's
You're
a lot
gonna
of
be
fun.
flying.
That's a great way to end the season.
Yeah, so I think it's been a great episode. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and apologies for the delay. And lovely to hear from Mariner. Anyone who tuned in late, go have a listen to the beginning of the episode, and he's left a very short 40-second clip to thank you all for the lovely messages while he's been unwell. In the meantime, I'll remind you once again at this part of the ad, which is that if 10 people use an NTH20 promo code on manscaped.com this month, they will look to do a long-term partnership with us. So that'll be really helpful if you want to support the channel. If you don't need ball shavers, in the meantime, you can become a YouTube member and get early access to the FDR, the Zonals, and the Captaincy. But whatever you do, if you're new, please do hit subscribe, hit the bell so you hear about future streams. And if you listen on podcasts, please leave a 5-star review. I've been FPL Nima. Joining me was FPL Lens Gabriel. This is Net That Hall. We've had a great fun with all of you in the live chat, and we look forward to seeing you for next week's Game Week 33 Double Up episode. In the meantime, ciao and good luck in Game Week 32, everyone.
Bye, everyone.